It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. It's a Tuesday, and it's my sister's birthday. Now, here's how you know a true Filipino. If the true Filipino says to his older sister, "Happy birthday, ate," now you know that's a Filipino. I'm just telling you. You want to say, well, we're going to see if you're a real Filipino. That's how you do it. If the younger brother looks at his older sister and says, "Ate," that's how you know. I'm just giving you a tip because there are a lot of mixed Filipino families out there, and generally speaking, it's Filipino mother and white father. I mean that's the way it is. I mean I'm the outlier there too, but it happens that that's sort of the common thing. I mean, because the white guys know how to access the mail order brides. Uh, well, it's not just the white guys, but they know how to. We know this. Even the Filipinos, when they were here in the U.S. during World War II or after World War II, the war brides. Oh, but war brides are different from mail order brides, which comes later. But that's the thing, right? You've got a situation where you have primarily Filipino mothers, and because it's maternal. My point is this: that's how the culture gets passed down. The maternal force. And even if it's a Filipino father, like in my case, Filipino father, white mother, it's it's only as strong as the Filipino maternal force, I think. I mean, because as Filipino as I am, I have to admit that sometimes there's a mini abdication of sorts. And so the Filipino, my kids look Filipino, and I try to tell them about the Filipino stuff. Like start calling her ate. Yeah, start calling him kuya. Oh, there's no kuya. They're all ates. And anyway, I'm just saying today's my aunt's birthday. Happy birthday, ate. I had a reminder today. I texted her. I said, I just wanted to remind you that you wet the bed. I didn't. Oh, she's not going to like that. But, the fact is that was true. These are kind of like ate kind of secrets that you don't share with people. But, I'm going to share it in my ate. No, I love my ate. No, what? She spilt a drink. She spilt her Nestle's Quick in the bed or something. After she digested it. No. It's from her cup. She spilled it. So anyway, welcome to the program. This is Emil Muck's Takeout. I am the aforementioned Emil Muck, Emil Guillermo, Emil Muck to you. My takes on all things considerable. That's what I call it. If you know my background, you'll find that funny. Although this is a show that has, we have there's a punchline or two that comes up naturally, but mostly it's a show where I talk. I talk about the news. I talk about things. I talk in front of this little tiny camera in this, this little closet here, which, it might seem like a big studio, but it's sort of like the Golden Globes the other night. I've been in that Beverly Hilton studio or that room. In fact, I said that I hosted an award show. I hosted an ethnic media award show back in, I think it was like 2000, early 2000s. And I got a chance to they gave us all the gadgets that the Globes had. And that's a small room. It's a small, intense room. So, of course, we're going to talk more about Joe Coy. I mentioned this Joe Coy thing about, the ate stuff because, I'm finding out, I'm looking through. Joe Coy, number one, is 52 years old. So that means that he is old enough to be my son if I knocked up my high school girlfriend. If I knocked up my high school girlfriend and she had a kid, it would be Joe Coy. And it would be just like Joe Coy because Joe Coy is half white. And, they don't really talk about that, you know. And, and I didn't want that to change things. Look, people are what they are. If they say they are, that's the census definition. So I'm not going to knock Joe Coy for that. But his real name is Joseph Herbert Sr. Joseph Herbert Sr. I guess he must have a junior. So Joe Herb, that could be his name, but he's Joe Coy instead, has a Filipino mother, according to reports. Well, we know, he says. Filipino mother, white father, and grew up mostly in Washington State, Nevada, lives in LA. And look, like I said yesterday, and if this is show 635, check out show 634, where I defend Joe Coy. I check out my columns on the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, aldef.org/blog, and also on inquirer.net. There's a version of my column there, Philippine Inquirer. I defend Joe Coy, and the editor of inquirer.net, after yesterday's pillaring of Joe Coy, was saying how she was just happy to get my story or my column this week because Joe Coy was getting it from all sides yesterday. And I felt bad for the guy. But, I've been listening to professional comedians. I know what it's like also to go in front of a crowd when, I'll tell you, I have emceed and hosted situations, one at the San Francisco Hilton back in the early 2000s again. The entire ballroom, there must have been like 1,500 people. And if you're not a big star and you're in the room and you're the MC and no one is like taking up a crystal glass and, knocking it with a fork or a spoon to like quiet people down, nothing. They go, the roar is on. It's like this, it's like a constant roar of the crowd. And even if you start talking, it's like a lower level. It's difficult. But now this is the Globes, right? And they'd rather be talking, right? If you're not giving me an award and you're not talking about me, I'm going to talk to my the guy next to me. That's how come you have to say, wow, the mics that they were using, they're so directional, they're so good that they really cut out the sound of the crowd. So I just I want to talk a little bit more about Joe Coy because he came out today, and this is part of an AP report saying he addressing the backlash. And was it backlash? I defended him saying, look, he didn't do that poorly. He shouldn't have taken the gig because he had just 10 days to prepare. And it takes a while to like fine tune the jokes, right? And he's telling them, and he's wondering, oh, this isn't the crowd. I mean, the jokes were good. The bad thing is the crowd doesn't want to hear a joke. This is akin to a comedian going out and performing before a Taylor Swift concert. They want to see, unless you're going out in a Taylor Swift dress or some kind of Taylor Swift costume, they don't want to see you telling jokes. So, I mean, usually that joke is told with, a Led Zeppelin concert. They don't want to see you. They want to see Led Zeppelin. But excuse me there. I had to touch my cough button. But no, I'm telling you, Joe Coy was in really no man's land. And professional comedians are all saying, I wouldn't take that gig. Michael Che was on the New York Post the other day saying, forget it. Comedians should ban these things and just let professional actors, other fellow awardees get up there and introduce and segue and do all that because, actors will laugh at other actors. And there's no big deal about necessarily getting a laugh. You'll get a reaction because you're an actor or an actress, right? In fact, the first Asian to co-host was actually Sandra Oh. If you said Asian American, Joe Coy still would be the first Asian American because Sandra Oh is Canadian. Didn't know that, huh? But if you said the first Filipino American, then definitely he was the first Filipino American. He also was the first solo Asian. See, now all this is important because if Asian Americans, we find all this is important because we are invisible. You have to understand that. And because we are invisible, if you're a first, now you've got to protect your firsthood. You got to say, okay, I'm first because I'm the first Asian American, first Filipino American, first solo Asian. It depends on how you define it. And I know as a fellow first because I was the first Asian American male to host, or first Asian American to host at NPR, not the first Asian American nationwide, because Connie Chung was first when she anchored the CBS Evening News. I was the first Asian American at NPR and the first Asian American male to host at a national news show. And I tell this joke in my show, which I should now announce my show dates. Hey, look, if you're going to be in New York in April, that's when I'm going to be there. I know I'm there around tax time. You're like doing your taxes from like January to April, and when you hand them in, there I am. I'm there in New York in April for the New York City Fringe. They're renaming it from the Frigid Fringe to the New York City Fringe because it's not supposed to be frigid in April. It's supposed to be more warm and open, springtime. And I'm there Friday, April 5th, 9:50, all the odd times. If you know what fringe festivals are like, it's all odd times, unique times. So Friday, April 5th, 9:50, Monday, April 8th at 8:10. Oh, normal time. Monday. That's a good show. Saturday, April 13th at 5:20. Friday, April 19th at 8:10, and Sunday, April 21st at 5:20. So 5 shows I'll be there. 5 times to miss a meal. Don't miss a meal. I'll be at the New York City Fringe. They'll be making announcements on, I think, Friday. But I want to give you, my listeners here on Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable, the inside skinny. The inside skinny, is that what it is? The inside skinny on, what I'm doing, my avails, New York City performance dates. So once again, Friday, April 5th, 9:50 p.m. Monday, April 8th at 8:10 p.m. Saturday, April 13th. Oh, Saturday the 13th. Lucky day. 5:20 p.m. Friday, April 19th at 8:10 p.m. and Sunday, April 21st at 5:20 p.m. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. The next iteration, married to PETA and other stories. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'll tell you about being vegan. Being vegan for sex. I mean, isn't that what everyone wants to know? You lose weight. You lose weight. All right. So more about this Joe Coy business today. I'm also going to talk about why AAPIs care about the Golden Globes. Saying, why do they care so much about this? I mean, because we don't show up. Because when you're invisible, every little thing counts. And, we don't even think about an Asian in the White House. Oh, only recently have we begun to think about an Asian in the White House. I mean, and believe me, Kamala Harris, she's Indian. We accept her as Asian American, but she's like Obama, right? She's most of the time we had to beat it out of her that she's Asian. She didn't say last time she ran. It wasn't until several weeks in before she acknowledged her Asianness. So, this thing, it's like when you're mixed, it's up to you. Look, and no one's going to tell you what you are. But we do notice when you put on the Asian hat or when you put on the other hat. And that's the thing about being mixed. And I guess I've given that curse to my kids. Do I put on the white hat? Well, when do I take off the white hat? I think I like the white hat. Stick the Filipino hat back on. Okay. Well, you're always Filipino. I mean, you carry your Filipino-ness right there. People see it. Anyway. So that's why Asians take this seriously. Take the Golden Globe seriously. One thing I noticed about the Globes, did you notice this too when you saw Ali Wong? Because Beef is going to be huge. Beef, they're nominated for, I think, like 9 Emmys. They're going to continue to roll on in award season. And if you're not on the beef train yet, time to get on. Even if you're vegan, get on. It won't hurt you. Get on the beef train. And I binge watched it over, I think it took 2 nights only. But it is a fascinating journey from a road rage incident to a full-fledged feud to people trying to destroy each other to what happens and how you deal with anger. And, the idea about Asians being angry is a thing that's really near and dear to my heart. Because on some accounts, look, I use the metaphor amok, AMOK, because I'm amok. I'm angry. My reasons for saying I'm Emil amok because I'm like Mount Pinatubo erupting. It's like it just comes out. But I have to say that as I get older, I learn the value of meditation and the value of just calming down and not reacting and releasing, or at least letting go all of those thoughts that might set off an amok reaction. It's just something I noticed with Ali Wong when she got up there on at the Globes to get her award. What did she do? She got up, she kissed her new boyfriend, Bill Hader, right? She then walked all the way from God knows where. I said it's not as big a room, but they must not have thought Beef was going to win because they were way in the back. Where are you guys? In Asia? Yeah, you guys are in Asia. That's why. You're Asian? Yeah, Korean. Allie's part Vietnamese. And they come up, and Allie is, if you saw Ali Wong throughout her career, that there was a time when she was the excitable gal. I saw her one time in a club performance. I've seen her several times. Club performances. I've seen her in big concert performances. I've seen her when she's pregnant. She's a wild woman. She was calm. I think she has evolved into her Hollywood self. And she was just so she didn't erupt. She didn't. I thought, well, surely she's going to erupt, and we're going to hear some kind of political thing or some kind of statement about culture, about AAPI. She acted like she belonged. Classy. Who would have thunk it, right? Ali Wong, classy. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm pregnant. Hey, want sex? No, classy all the way. And the classiest thing, she thanked she called him the father of her children and her best friend, which I guess is a lot better than my ex-husband who takes care of the kids. But if you call him the father of my children and my best friend, that's classy. Thank you, Justin, for. I met him. I actually did not. I've never met Ali Wong. I've communicated with her, social media, that kind of thing. I've never met her, but I have met Justin. I think he was selling T-shirts. And that's usually his job. Oh, he's selling the merch. Nice guy, and he's the alley enabler, and maybe that's why she just seems at peace. She seems to be a winner at peace, and I think it's going to continue because I'm telling you, beef. It has still has the Emmys to go. It's going to happen. I think. I mean, Globes are. The Globes. They might have a slight foreign. I mean, ethnic edge. No, I don't know. But momentum. It definitely has momentum. So anyway, if you haven't seen Beef, check out Beef. Even if you're vegan, I just loved it. I mean, the situations you get into and the dark comedics. I mean, it's sort of funny but not funny. That's kind of Asian. Sort of like this show. It's sort of funny but not funny. You just get lost in that. Like, how do you get out of this mess? And the final mess, how to get out of that mess. Oh my God. I'm telling you. Well, I think you should binge it every year. And as I mentioned in one of my columns, I said the only thing I didn't like is their common reference to, those Filipinos. Oh, those Filipinos, they said. Which I guess is okay if they fear them. It was sort of like, are the Filipinos like synonymous with El Chapo? I think that's not so great. Or like some kind of gang. They're gonna get us. But it's fiction. It's for fun. Check it out. Beef. Okay. All right. Now back to Joe Coy. So here's the thing about the guy. I've never met him, but I wanted to give him a sense of, like, I bombed before, and maybe I don't know if I'm bombing most of the time because I'm used to just talking in a closet in front of a camera, and I just assume the laughs are there. You see, I'm bomb proof. I just act like they're there. But it must be intimidating as hell when you've got all the A-listers sitting in front of you saying, who is this jerk? Well, why isn't he giving us our food? Oh, he's in a tux. Well, what are the waiters wearing? Yeah, I just can't imagine. Well, I can, but it's tough. And now the first thing he did was throw his writers under the bus. I wouldn't have done that because, you're going to have to deal with them. The jokes weren't that bad. What was bad was, as I said, the audience was bad. The audience doesn't want to hear jokes. And so Joe Coy, this is from an AP story today. He says the one joke, and he cites this one joke where he noticed the entire energy in the room just changed. The big difference between the Golden Globes and the NFL, on the Golden Globes, we have fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift, Coy joked. I swear, there's just more to go to here. Now, following the joke, the camera panned to Swift, and she didn't seem to like the joke. And then that's where things changed. And Coy said that I think it was when the Taylor one was just a little flat, he said on GMA3. It was a weird joke, I guess, but it was more on the NFL. You know what I mean? I was trying to make fun of the NFL using cutaways and how the Globes didn't have to do that, which is kind of fun. And I didn't take it as a swipe at Taylor Swift. It's just a poke at everything that has to do with Taylor Swift and the phenomenon, as well as the NFL. Coy said the pop superstar wasn't the target of his joke, but rather it was the NFL. Swift is currently dating Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, who is absent from the awards. And, I really thought that this is where what I said, if you took a clock and went over his monologue and the reaction that people gave him, or that I perceived from being at the home audience, you got a solid 3 to 5 seconds on some jokes, which is what a decent comedian is looking for. And if he doesn't get 3 to 5 seconds on some jokes, it was because he stepped on the joke early, possibly because he thought he was dying up there. So I don't know. I watched the live version at 5 o'clock Pacific, so I didn't see a juiced up version if they had a chance to juice it up in post for, say, a repeat, right? I saw it live at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 o'clock Eastern, and I was going on that timer, and he seemed, especially in that Swift joke, it looked like he could have gotten 3 to 5, and it was less, only because he came back on and he started apologizing for the joke, which I thought, okay, maybe he thinks that's going to be the savor. That's going to be what's funny. I just think that it was okay. This is what comedians do. They go out there, they make funny, it doesn't work. Hey, you're with me, right? You're not. And I think that was the bad thing about that audience. They weren't totally with him. And as I point out in my column, I don't know if he was totally comfortable with that A-list crowd, even though some of those people are some big fans of his. Steven Spielberg bankrolled Easter Sunday. Didn't make any money for anybody, but I mean, it's kind of been a tough period for Joe Coy. He's got Easter Sunday that kind of fell flat last year. He's got, I don't know, maybe he's coming out with his sitcom pilot, maybe coming out in the fall. I don't know. He had the Broadway show, Here Lies Love. He pumped money into that. Didn't work. It closed just after Thanksgiving. And now this. I think, though, this is going to give him some cred. I mean, people know who he is. If he wasn't a household word or household name, he is now. And he always has his niche, his ethnic niche, which I was looking at social media. People still, they're forgiving. Although there were some people come out with the long knives when you're down. There are some people saying, hey, I always thought he was terrible. Now, I respect the guy. I mean, the guy has an audience. And he was trying to extend it. And it's unfortunate that it didn't go as well as he wanted. Like I said, it wasn't a 10. It was more like to me, it was more like a 7 or 8, which is still pretty good. Not like a 2 or a 3 or like a bomb, a dud. It wasn't that bad. And considering 10 days, considering all that, guy's a hero. Guy's a hero. You learn from this. So hats off to Joe Coy. Although, like I said, when I was reading a review, Joe Coy, only half Filipino. But maybe it's like the Jewish faith. If your mother's Filipino, then you're all Filipino. It's maternal. I think it's true because in my kids, I'm Filipino. My wife's white. My kids act white, but they're Filipino and they know they're Filipino. It's like that duality. But when it's the maternal side, something happens. It's stronger cultural ties. I just think we're going to see more Asian men, white women, Asian men, non-Asian women happening more. I mean, I see that more. I mean, once again, outlier there, right? I mean, when I got married, it was all Asian women. And what did you think about the Globes? All the Asian women that were just hanging on these white guys. Did you notice that? I mean, it just was noticeable that Ali Wong had her white guy. There was a woman on Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti had an Asian woman. Man, and she was a very attractive Asian woman with Paul Giamatti, who actually is my inspiration for trying to be an actor still at this late stage. I mean, if Paul Giamatti, of course, he's not, he came with privileges, right? I mean, his father was president of Yale. He doesn't mention that. His son, he said, my son Samuel graduated. He probably graduated from Yale. I guess, I know. But if your father is the former president of Yale University, I mean, you probably have an in, right? So Paul Giamatti loved his performance, saw the holdovers, loved his reference to a man smelling like fish. It is a physical thing where you smell like fish, hormonal thing. It's not like, what you're eating for breakfast is sort of weird. Garlic fish is weird, Filipinos. I know. I mean, would you like some dried fish? Oh, see, now, if I do that, you stole that from Joe Coy, man. No. Hey, it's Filipino. He's only half. I'm full. I have full rights to that joke. Okay. So, anyway, Joe Coy, he's going to make it out. He's going to do okay. He's going to do okay. Beef is going to do okay. Asian Americans really took a big leap forward. And here's the thing. It's day 2 after the Globes, and there's still some residual talk about it, right? But one thing no one is talking about is the lack of diversity. No one is saying, oh my God, that person won. Oh, that one. Oh, what happened? They dissed that person and that. There were no blacks, no African, no Latinx, no complaints about that. That's a change, because the reason for all the scrutiny on the Globes was that, hey, why are all the white guys winning? What? So anyway, that's a positive thing, and that was another joke that that Joe Coy had. I thought it was pretty edgy when he went after Killers of the Flower Moon, and he said that hey, when you stole, he says one of the first things I noticed, or one of the things I learned is that white people stole everything, 100%, and which I thought was a funny line. But someone writes that in the film, the white villains do not triumph, and that Oklahoma's history of Native Americans is more nuanced than white versus non-white. Okay, someone wants to be a stickler. In addition, the production team consulted with Native Americans and included Native American performers in the LA premiere. Further, when Martin Scorsese was born in 1942, Italian Americans weren't necessarily accepted as white. So, well, so so a lot of people, it is, Joe Coy was very broad there, but I thought in general, maybe not specific to, that movie, but in general, it's a broad, exaggerated joke when you say white people stole everything. Anyway, I guess to close on the issue, the big thing is Joe Coy isn't dead. He's going to continue. He's got support and love from all his fans. And the Globes have come back. People are still talking about it. Although, I write this in my column. What could have been more perfect if Joe Coy tells that Taylor Swift joke and the cutaways, and Travis Kelce's there, and he gets up and he goes after Joe Coy and punches him in the face, saying, "Take my pop star out of your mouth," or something. Take her name out of your mouth. Got to work on that. But that would have blown up the internet. That would have absolutely blown up the internet, and I think everyone would have been happy. They'd say, "Wow, we got the second coming of a Chris Rock, Will Smith thing here, and we didn't ask for this." But that's the thing. They didn't ask for it, but they kind of want that. That's what makes the world go round in those circles. All right, the other thing we're watching today is what's happening in the news in terms of Donald Trump. God, he went up to taking notes, went to court today. And judges, he went before the judges. He wasn't questioned. It was more the appeals court judges questioning his attorneys about the claim for immunity. And headline, judges skeptical of Trump's immunity appeal at court hearing for 2020 election interference case. I mean, this is going to be, this is critical. And, Trump was there, number one, because he wants to get pictures of himself there. He wants to get, because it's going to help his campaign. And his campaign's kind of, it's not really rising. It's showing that it's being brought closer to the ground instead of a high-flying balloon. The latest CNN poll shows Nikki Haley coming within 7 points in New Hampshire. Trump is still ahead, but coming within 7 points. That the momentum in New Hampshire may be enough for people to wake up and say, "Hey, the Republican Party, are we on a death wish if we nominate a guy who could be convicted here of even one felony?" Do we want to be known as the party that sends convicted felons to the White House? So that's why this is important, this immunity claim. It's sort of like having immunity in Survivor. You're protected, can't get kicked off the island. And so, let's see, the court went through it's a 3-judge panel, very diverse. I thought that's important because it's not like the Supreme Court. And it's the U.S. Court of Appeals, District of Columbia Circuit. Court could issue a ruling that decisively resolves the immunity question, allowing the trial to move quickly forward, or alight on a more narrow ruling that could leave some issues unresolved. That could also simply rule that Trump had no right to bring an appeal at this stage of the litigation. So right now, everyone's just reading tea leaves, right? So according to reports, he arrived at the federal courthouse before oral arguments began at 9:30, sat at his lawyer's table. He was mostly muted. He grew flustered at points when the prosecutors were speaking. He could be seen passing notes to his lawyers on a legal pad. And it was all audio today. So if you listened, you can hear, and it was interesting. Although I have to say that, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'll wait for the Perry Mason version and the Cliff Notes version, of which I'm reading now. But this is important because, as I said, if he gets it, green lights. But it doesn't look like there's going to be green lights for Trump. I mean, the headlines coming out of the court, today's court hearing, is that the judges appeared skeptical. So the appeals court is hearing the case on an expedited schedule, so a ruling could come quickly, possibly in time to allow Trump's trial to begin as scheduled. Judge Florence Pan, Asian American, immediately peppered Trump's lawyer with hypothetical situations in which, under Trump's theory, presidents could not be prosecuted. Could a president, she asked, be prosecuted for selling pardons or military secrets, or by ordering the assassination of a political opponent? I understand your position to be that a president is immune from criminal prosecution for any official act that he takes as president, even if that action is taken for an unlawful or unconstitutional purpose. Is that correct? Pan said. Now that's a good question. And Trump's lawyer, D. John Sauer, responded that such a prosecution can only take place if the president is impeached and convicted by the Senate first. Here's where it gets really kind of interesting. The position taken by prosecutors would authorize, for example, the indictment of President Biden in the Western District of Texas after he leaves office for mismanaging the border allegedly. Sauer added. So it's all after, and they're just showing this hypothetical with Biden as opposed to their claim. Judge Karen Henderson, the sole Republican appointee on the panel, 3-panel judge panel, cited another part of the Constitution, a provision that requires the president to ensure that laws are faithfully executed. I think it's paradoxical to say that this constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed allows him to violate criminal law. See, I think this is going to be it's going to be hard for Republicans to win on this, I think. Judge Michelle Childs mentioned the fact that President Richard Nixon was pardoned upon leaving office as a data point, suggesting that no one has ever assumed presidents are immune from prosecution after leaving office, whether or not they have been convicted in an impeachment proceeding. Nixon resigned before he could be impeached. And that's what they're saying here. They're saying about Trump. that Trump was impeached, but he wasn't convicted. So he should, that yeah, that he has some kind of, where is it? It can't be held liable. Anyway, so all these arguments here, I think it's interesting. Does he have immunity? Should he have immunity? That the three judges will go over it. They'll make the decision, and it could decide really what happens in the 2024 campaign. If he doesn't have immunity, he's got to go through all the four trials. If he has immunity, well, that pretty much is it, right? So we'll watch that. Meanwhile, one more thing, a couple more things. I mentioned the polls in New Hampshire. Saw this today. It's interesting because if you had your heart set for Vivek Ramaswamy, not looking too good for Vivek. Let's see. Gotta find the. I'm getting all these texts from people who are running for office, like Harry Gunn, the guy from the Capitol Police officer. Okay, so let me do one thing on. Oh, come on, Vivek. I'm trying to find Vivek. Meanwhile, enjoy the music. No, they can't enjoy the music, Emil. Okay, here, Vivek. This is from Axios, and it says that Iowa's GOP caucuses are a week from tonight, and near blizzard conditions are forcing campaigns to cancel events and change plans. Man, can't imagine how it is now in Iowa. But I've lived through that. Not Iowa, but St. Louis, Missouri, similar. Why frigid weather is forecast for next week as well, which could dampen the turnout. Iowa is under a winter storm warning. 6 to 12 inches of snow is expected across the Hawkeye State central and southeastern regions, according to the National Weather Service. Oh, that's not a snowman. That's Donald Trump trudging around. The campaigns of Nikki Haley and former President Trump have scrapped Iowa events due to weather and travel issues. Vivek Ramaswamy will drive to campaign events this week rather than take his typical private plane rides. So we got poor weather for Vivek, and so it's like not just a voter freeze out, it's a Vivek freeze out. But one thing I'm reading from Axios is that Vivek Ramaswamy sold $32 million of his stock in the business, his biotech business, because he can self-fund. I guess that's the way it should be. But then if you say that's the way it should be, you're saying only rich people can run, and it shouldn't be that way. People who want to run should run, and they should be publicly financed. It shouldn't be like, oh God, I need some campaign signs. Let's go to the ATM machine. That's the way Vivek Ramaswamy is doing his campaign. In the meantime, it also seems that people are bailing out of his campaign. They're going to the RNC. They're saying, hey, I'll be looking for a gig before Super Tuesday. Vivek's going to skip Iowa, or he's going to skip Illinois. He's going to do Iowa, New Hampshire, skip Illinois. I'm looking for a job. So a lot of his help are quitting. Not looking good for Vivek. He is like 8% in one poll, good for fourth. And I don't know if this whole thing is to buy Trump's trust and to become his vice president. I don't know if it's worth it. I know if it's worth it if he wants to really be the Republican male Would he be the Republican male Kamala Harris? Indian? I don't know. So Vivek is there. Nikki Haley is rising. Like I said, she's 7 points within Trump in New Hampshire now, according to the CNN latest CNN polling, which is good. But has she answered anything about the? I mean, did she give a decent answer about the Civil War yet? About the idea of humans owning other humans, how that is reprehensible, how that is something that should not be, that is, we should never see that happen again. There's never a way to undo that except to acknowledge it every time it comes up. We can't whitewash it in history. Did she answer that question about the Civil War so cleanly? I don't think she has. Anyway, all right. So I think that's it for today. I'm still, if you're not masking up, please mask up. I have masked up. I'm still having some respiratory issues. I've been taking little fizzies. You drop them in, and that's been helpful. But it does the same thing as all the other antihistamines. It dries you all up, but it's not. I know what you need is rest. What you need is sleep, and not getting enough of that. Anyway, hey, look. So I say congratulations to Michigan, all you Michiganders out there, all you maize and blue. We don't call it yellow where we are. We call it maize. I never really noticed that before, but the maize and blue. And I always liked Jim Harbaugh. I liked him when he was the coach of the 49ers. And I was wondering, I wonder if his dad still gives him his little cheat sheet or his little summary of what to do. And there was his dad last night. It was amazing. His mom, and I love the Harbaughs. I didn't like John as much. The guy went to the Baltimore. I like Jim because he coached the 49ers. Jim, who won last night. But John made an appearance. I go back and forth on John Harbaugh because, the Ravens are a good team too. But, when the 49ers lost Jim Harbaugh, those were the Kaepernick years. And he made Kaepernick. And but when Harbaugh left the building, culture changed. Culture just totally changed. And just like it's changed now with Shanahan, which is a little better. Now the Shanahans it's there. Like all these fiefdoms. Football families. The Harbaugh family, the Shanahan family, the Davis family. That's how it works. Football families. So if you're a Michigan fan, congratulations. They really did it to Washington. And I guess, you notice this when you watch football. I mean, look, I played football. I played Pee Wee in high school. And when you see, and I noticed this first in Pee Wee ball when I played in like 6th and 7th and 8th grade, right? Like in the city, in San Francisco, everyone's small. And I was, I was normal size. Then we went out to the farm country, just like 2 hours away. And these guys were huge. I mean, that's the way it is. That's football. That's why. And so that's sort of the way it was last night with Michigan and their big linemen and Washington. And they had a good quarterback, Michael Penix. I guess Michael Penix Jr. Is he a junior? I think he's a junior. And he looked pretty ordinary. Meantime, Michigan did pretty much what he wanted in the first half, and then the second half it was a little slower but more deliberate. They won. Congratulations. You know, I love college football. I can watch college football because I know now this isn't the case anymore because people in college football can make millions of dollars. Millions of dollars on NIL, name, image, and likeness deals. But you know, the best players go to the best situations. It's better for football. You get better football. You don't get stuck saying, "Oh, I got to do my homework. I got to stay here. I can't transfer. I can't." No, it's the minor leagues to the pros, and it makes it more interesting. And if people wanted to be academics, they go to an academic school that doesn't give out college sports scholarships like an Ivy League school. All right, so we're going to go. If you've missed any or all of my Joe Coy Part 2, I really think it would have been great if Joe Coy had told that Taylor Swift joke, and if Travis Kelce were in the room and came in and punched Joe Coy, that would have broken the internet. That would have been great. I mean, for not for society necessarily, but in just as a thing in the internet. And for the Joe Coy's fame and his notoriety, and then they'd say, "Wow, Taylor Swift condones this kind of violence." I mean, it would have been kind of an interesting storyline, don't you think? All right, and catch my analysis of beef too. I think something happened to Ali Wong. I think she's found a kind of peaceful side, and you know, she meditates in beef because she goes through a rough time and she comes back out, and I think she's found some meditative bliss somewhere because she did not go amok when she won on Sunday. She did not go amok. She must have found some meditative bliss. And you know, we end these shows. You know, Joe Coy ended the Golden Globe saying what I say, and a friend of mine who's on Facebook, she said that, Emil, you got to say, "I love you all." You can't just say, "I love you." You got to say, "I love you all," and she spelled it out, but I was too impatient. I said, I like the shortcut where you say, "I love you." I prefer that because it's clean, it's simple. Anyway, Joe Coy, apparently he said it at the Golden Globes, but I've been saying that ever since I started this program, or actually every radio program that I've done, dating back to the time in San Francisco in the 80s. I've been doing. I've closed the show saying that word, that phrase, because it's one of the few I know. And now that I know that Joe Coy is only half Filipino from his mother's side, well, I'm both. I'm full. So, you know, by rights. Although my other half is not just Tagalog, it's Ilocano. Oh, better. All right, so we close with a little loving kindness meditation. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Happy birthday, Ate. It's her birthday. It really is her birthday. And for all the rest of you, mahal kita.